Blonde trollops who don go-go boots who flop pom-poms non-stop to do promos for floor shows. Wow.
We make music through editing sounds and chopping them up into new forms, and from that a particular genre might emerge. So we might make a disco song, or we might make a noise song, or something that sounds like doom metal. So we don't start from a home base in a genre. We start from recording actions and objects in the world, and then we see from there where that takes us. This makes us a little bit fugitive, and it makes a music in which the decision to edit, the decision to cut and paste is foregrounded. It's not something that's concealed, it's the point. You should perceive the moment of the cut. So it's a little bit closer to the language of film, in which montage is the way that relationships are constructed. That's the goal for us as well through music. Certainly reading Burroughs' cut-up novels, reading The Soft Machine when I was 16 years old, you know, it's this sort of adolescent moment of you're discovering sexuality and the cut-up at the same time. And I think that that was a really foundational connection in Burroughs' work that influences what we do. There isn't as much of a cult of being a composer or high art because we're self-taught. You know, we come from a noise scene background. We don't come from the conservatory training universe, and so we just can't pretend.
We talk a lot of smack about being experimental when in fact we had fallen into a terrible rut of doing songs and trying to do them the same way every time. And I think not doing a great job of doing that and missing the opportunity of actually experimenting. And I say this to the audience in a lot of places. I say, so tonight we're experimenting, which means we didn't rehearse. So it might be bad. Is that what experimental is? You know, sort of, are we experimenting or are we just unprepared?
We've always been a couple and a band, and because we're an electronic band, that's a real problem, because the tools of electronic music production are designed to let the lonely, antisocial person become this kind of tyrant in their little audio kingdom and fill all the space and fill all the frequencies and clutter it with a million tracks. So how do two people, especially two people who are kind of romantically attuned to each other's feelings, make space for each other? And the result is a lot of conflict, you know, a lot of argument and a lot of discussion. Martin and I have been making music now for 22 years together, and a lot has changed about how we do it, but the basic challenge of how to overcome your selfishness, that never gets easier. Even now, this long answer I'm giving, right? Like I'm suffocating Martin by talking.
Can't I have a forum? It results in furious arguing. I'm good with your answer.
Okay.
I agree.
These pieces exist as video, which acts as a kind of graphic score for us, but I don't have a set sequence. I have an array of patterns and options that I select from in the moment, and I decide, what do I want to use? How full or how empty do I want it to be? Should I just stop playing for a little while? Should I just let Martin take this? Should I be very aggressive and fill the space? So I have a very wide bandwidth of options, and I can go from being very, very full and present to being barely anything. And those are the choices that I'm making on the fly. Tonight we're going to play almost entirely new material. There will be one older song, but everything else is based on new video work that Martin Schmidt has made. There's a piece based on a metronome, in which we contact mic a metronome, and then I attempt to jump on board and its rhythm on the fly, and then we pull out, and I've sampled the metronome.
It's sort of a joke on
tempo,
because we're expected in a lot of people's minds to provide dance music, which we've never done. But once you're stuck with this sort of Appalachian electronic music,
some people think that
means oots, oots, oots.
So we've done a piece that's a kind of like working through of like, what does it mean to have a regular tempo? There's a piece that's based on tape, on like packing tape, that Martin plays live.
But yeah, the sources are not crazy exotic.
It's not the weirdest show ever. I mean, I'd say the most extreme live sound we ever did was when we got the cow uterus and inflated the uterus live and attempted to play the vaginal lips of the uterus.